Hello and welcome back for Game 2. We have TSM opposite Golden Guardians. We're going to start things off with starting rosters. Selecting blue side is TSM, with Broken Blade in the top lane, Acadian in the jungle, Bjergsen in mid, Sven in the bot lane alongside support Smoothie with coaches Zix and Goldman.
Absolutely, and challenging them on the red side, it is Golden Guardians. Former TSM top laner Hauntzer starts out this line of contracts in the jungle. Mid lane is Froggen, bot is FBI, support is Huhi, and coaches Jimmy and Paul.
The last time these teams played each other was back in week 4, only a little bit ago, and they were tied in the standings back then, 4-3. 3 weeks later, we meet today, and the only match record separating these teams was that match. They're still one game apart.
And that game was also the longest and probably closest game of the split for both teams. It clocked in at just under 50 minutes. And when I watched the replay for that game, I remembered how much Bjergsen popped off. He actually had 12 Azir kills in that game, which ended up being the most kills by a single player in a game this split. Then I thought, okay, is it the most of the year? And I found, no, the most kills in an LCS game this year was actually by Froggen as Karthus versus TSM in the spring split. So I'm really looking forward to watching these teams, and specifically Bjergsen and Froggen face off again, as it's almost always a good game.
Yeah, they're absolutely stellar players right now. And again, you have Golden Guardians, who are right now actually in playoff position themselves. Of course, TSM a bit more comfortably there, but it has been a little bit of a slide for Golden Guardians. It feels like they have been losing a bit more. They had such a very, very strong start to the summer split. I think they had something like a 4-0 start almost, at least a 2-0 start. And it has been downhill, and it feels like they are maybe one of the teams that would lose that playoff spot.
Yeah, and I think it's because they are trying to find the right set of 5 players. Because I think Golden Guardians is very happy with the way Hauntzer and Froggen are performing. Hauntzer in particular has beast top lane stats with basically consistently being on an island. People don't gank him, his team doesn't gank for him, right? And it's really been the bot lane which they've switched out. They started the season with Deftly and Ole. They brought in now FBI and Huhi, who while they have very poor gold at 15 numbers, in fact, second worst amongst 80 carries for FBI and worst in the league for Huhi. He's actually averaging a negative 604 gold at 50 minutes, but they're 2-2, right? They've also made a trade to pick up Keith for their academy team. I actually wouldn't even be surprised if we see yet another bottom lane for Golden Guardians before the year's out if FBI and Huhi aren't able to help them pick up wins. So they're very strong and set top side of the map, but it's really just about making the whole team come together for Golden Guardians.
And with 6 games to play and a 1-game buffer, there is just barely enough time to make the sort of edits you need to keep Golden Guardians in playoff contention. 2018 was lackluster, double 10th place. 2019 so far has been a story of getting into playoffs and narrowly missing semifinals. This team has definitely been shaping up over time, and now you kind of come in here again and they've got that chance to keep going. TSM, I think another team where 2019 has been kind of the better year, missing finals for the first time, back to finals this time around, narrowly missing out on going to MSI themselves. That 5-game series against TL, obviously very, very close. You know, they completed the reverse sweep. And so it's hey, you know, how much more can TSM shape up?
Yeah, I mean, since we have a little bit of time as they're waiting through a small delay on stage, just thinking about the journey that TSM has had to go on, and now I can kind of reflect on the big risk they took in the spring split, right? Bringing in Broken Blade. They also announced that Acadian's going to be their starting jungler going forward, even though for much of the year, a lot of the words coming out of the TSM camp was that, oh, Grig is recovering from injury and we're going to wait until we have some time to reintegrate him. And they're actually, no, Acadian's performing well enough that we should actually just keep him in.
Yeah, and that was really compelling to me. There's 2 things that I care about. So one is if you listen to the Svenskeren interview at the end of last game, he said there's a top 3 junglers in my opinion, and it was Svenskeren talking about himself, and Xmithy, and Acadian.
Yeah.
Sven gives Acadian the nod as top 3 jungler in the LCS right now, and I think he's definitely a stellar player, helped bring TSM to finals. That's awesome. But what's also interesting as well, if you look back at like the first 6 games TSM played, Grig was 3-0, Acadian was 0-3.
Yeah.
And a lot of fans were like, why are you giving Acadian playtime? Grig is clearly working. They didn't look like they were differently skilled in play, just the results were different. And TSM, through scrims, through watching the matches, everything else, said, no, Acadian is the better player. We give him the nod. He is the full-time starter, and I think it's the right choice.
Yeah, and I think that's about listening to the process rather than the results. You even look at some of the stats that don't necessarily show up in wins, but as far as getting stuff done early, kills plus assists at 15 minutes, Acadian's ranked 3rd in the LCS, behind the two C9 junglers, Glaber and Svenskeren. So he's been playing very well, enabling Broken Blade to lead the league as in top lane kills with 37. And things are not necessarily going great this split for TSM, but are definitely trending upwards since the end of 2018.
7-5, maybe not the highest record you've seen TSM have before, but certainly a strong team in playoff contention. Golden Guardians the same, hoping they can turn a somewhat recent slide around. But again, as you mentioned, 2-2 with this iteration of the roster, and I think treading water would generally bode pretty well for the squad with 6 games to play. And we can see a couple more bans coming through as 3 support bans have come in. I guess I should really say 2. Sona, of course, typically a bot lane farming champion.
Yeah, and really, I want to take a moment to talk about Sona in the LCS in particular, because I know a lot of LCS fans are very fatigued in seeing this champion in games. However, the LCS in particular prioritizes Sona more than basically any other region in the world. Looking at current present statistics, Sona is picked or banned in 78% of NALCS games. That drops to 62% in the LEC, 32% in the LCK, and 22% in the LPL. And this patch in particular, since I actually nerfed Sona, have the speed AP ratio on the E, has dropped from a global presence of 54% to 18. Yet it does seem like NA teams are still very willing to ban Sona. I'm not saying that is wrong. I think that is a regional difference because they put more time into the pick than anyone else, so they were going to be more hesitant to drop it even after receiving nerfs.
Yeah, I think one of the first times I even saw Sona Taric as a bot lane was in NA Academy. That seemed one of the first places that brought it out. I think TSM Academy themselves were one of the first forerunners there. And of course, now we're to the actual picks and bans themselves with plenty of support bans. Braum and Tom Kench early grabs, so back to tank supports down here. Silas for contract wants to do a bunch of damage down there in the jungle role, answered by Acadian Sejuani, and an early Ezreal here for Sven.
Yeah, Sven back on the Ezreal train. That was pretty much the only thing it seemed like he ever played back in 2018. Played a lot in spring as well. This will be his 3rd Ezreal game of this split. And because they have the Sejuani, even though the incredibly strong Sejuani-Aurelia duo is gone, it is still a strong pick.
I'm going to go ahead and grab a top laner here for Hanser before it's all over, and they're going to blind this Aatrox here for the top side, so their bot lane farm, probably an AD carry here for FBI, as well as their mid laner for Froggen is going to be what's picked up last right here. That is FBI in the lineup. We saw him on the screen earlier, so don't mind those words definitely down to the bottom right. Jace, I would probably assume Kennen also banned away, the most typical counter picks to Aatrox, the ranged auto attackers.
Yeah, I am looking forward to see what contracts can do on the Silas. It's incredibly potent against Sejuani at level 6, also reasonable at dueling in the early game. Not the best ultimates to steal so far on the TSM side, though.
That's true. Worth pointing out that, I mean, Sejuani is at least nice for the engage, but let's see what else we can find for themselves. Sivir off the table. Of course, we know bot lane needs to be picked at some point as well. Sivir still very, very high priority, and of course, with Rakan not going to be played, since you already see the Braum, there's not a huge reason to care about Xayah either. You don't typically solo her. Akali actually does make sense. Of course, we need to consider Broken Blade and Bjergsen both very good at taking the game into their own hands.
Yeah, getting rid of a lot of the flex pickability. This kind of gives me the realization that unless we see a Kiana, which could be seen in basically anyone's hands, seeing their solo queue accounts, it also leaves Azir and Corki completely open, which are Azir in particular, the most picked mid laner this split in the LCS. If it is so heavily picked, I'm a little bit surprised it's not banned more for teams like C9 who want to try and actually win through lanes. But knowing Bjergsen and Froggen's style, I think Azir would be a pretty good choice.
Azir would be a good choice, but it's not going to be blind picked here for the Froggen side. Kai'Sa going to be grabbed up for FBI, so we know it's a Braum Kai'Sa bottom lane. We just saw C9 play it, and now Golden Guardians going to play it here themselves up against Tom Kench Ezreal. Should be a pretty free license for Kai'Sa to get a lot of gold. I don't really see you getting bullied out by that. Tom Kench will outlane a Braum, but I still don't think you kill off this Kai'Sa and stop her from farming any gold, so that should be pretty safe.
Kiana Azir?
Kiana Azir could be the matchup.
Flex him. Because Broken Blade plays both those champions top lane as well.
That's true.
Pulled out the top lane Azir.
Azir comes through at the very start of it. The Vel'Koz hovers, shout out to Froggen. The Veigar hover for similar reasons. Always fun seeing some of those less common mid laners coming around. And now what do you play up there? You know you're against Aatrox to the top side. You know you're blind picking mid.
Yeah, I think you actually send the Azir top into Aatrox. Or the Camille could definitely work too, but Camille mid can work specifically with Sejuani, is when we did see it a little bit. But yeah, it's probably Azir mid, Camille top.
All right, I'm waiting to see the day where Froggen flexes into support and Huhi takes mid. Because Huhi has been an amazing Aurelion Soul mid player. Froggen has several support wins in LCS already. He had role swapped with Krepo a few times. That had happened. His Blitzcrank is legendary. Twisted Fate comes through. I like seeing this champion back in play. We've seen TF top as well, by the way, so you never know for sure, but probably mid here for Froggen.
Yeah, and I'd very much expect Hanser to be playing that Aatrox going up against the Camille. I wonder how the jungler influence is going to affect that lane because, as we mentioned before, even though Hanser has been so strong in the laning phase, a plus 17 CSD at 15, he has the lowest jungle help and gets ganked the least because oftentimes Contracts is trying to make stuff happen elsewhere on the map and that draws jungle attention away from top lane and lets Hanser go to work. And against a Camille, I think the Aatrox can do that. It's just when that pesky Sejuani gets involved and they stack up the Sejuani stun in 1.5 seconds and kill you, that's when it becomes a problem.
Cool draft for TSM. They banned the Aurelia, still managed to sneak in the Sejuani and just added Camille in there instead. Melee auto attacker with attack resets plus Sejuani. A really, really good combo. I would expect to see TSM try to make things happen up in the top sides. Coaches shake hands. Lineups on your screen. Contracts on yet another Sylas game. Had a very good one previously. Puts out a lot of damage. But you are light on tanks. It's Braum for the support roles, your only obvious frontliner. That can make things a little bit difficult. You can sometimes break him down. A lot of backline threat, of course, still available, and plenty of hard engage for TSM. Camille could lead things up. Sejuani can as well. In a pinch, Bjergsen on Azir. This could be very spicy as TSM are in playoff position. Golden Guardians a game behind, also in 5th, 6th. And let's see what we get ourselves into the rift as TSM faces Golden Guardians.
And I'm really excited for this matchup, Freak. We already mentioned the fact that Bjergsen had 12 kills the last time they played Golden Guardians on Azir, so we get to see that again. But we also get to see what could be a season-defining moment for Golden Guardians. What is the difference in our perception of these teams when we think of TSM versus Golden Guardians? It's like, well, if Golden Guardians would have clawed out a win in that 50-minute game, they would actually have a better record than TSM. And then looking forward, Golden Guardians' remaining schedule is the hardest in the LCS. So you could consider this a must-win, and it's a team that they have beaten in the spring and been very close to beating so far in the summer.
We'll see if they can hold another spot. Look for a ward in the tri-brush, but TSM did not put one down. I'm assuming that's some level of research and expecting where TSM's wards likely are. This round not happening. It's TSM playing a bit more defensively. You can see them standing out in the corners looking for long-range vision, and they won't get caught by any of this here. Of course, Twisted Fate gold cards into Braum Flash Q. You can often kill someone outright. TSM play defensively enough that they are not spotted, not killed, and it's going to be just safe.
Yeah, I think if they weren't against Tom Kent Sejuani, Golden Guardians would have actually invaded harder. Braum usually just wins early invades. Braum Ezreal would be the best, which they don't have here. They have the Braum Kaisa, but it does push Contracts to a topside start, which will be pretty unknown from TSM, yet it is fairly known for Golden Guardians that Acadian is starting blue side, especially with a jungle play. You see that all the time in solo queue. A lot of times in pro, the dual lane's just going to start in the lane for pressure.
Well, smart by Acadian. Takes a path that actually dodges... actually, no, that's their own ward they put down, so never mind.
But he dodged it.
He dodged his own ward in the Raptor camp, so that's big brain right there by Acadian. That's the bottom panel of the Galaxy Brain comic.
Now?
He's going for something really cheeky. I think he's expecting Contracts to go, I guess, up there. Can he... Wait, is he creep jack or is he just going to go get top right away?
Sejuani is actually not a great level 2 champ because you need the W to come through. He literally just has Q and E, but with the melee, he'd be able to get stuns. I'm a little surprised he's making that move. Maybe he expected Contracts to do a different path. Yeah, ends up just coming back to take his blue. He loses about 15 to 20 seconds of experience here.
And he basically lost the first Krugs as the timer there, and they kind of go to match back and go through the jungle camps once again. But yeah, Broken Blade hit level 2 off that minion right as Acadian was coming around. He did dodge all the wards, but sadly, Hanser was playing so far back that he was not gankable under the turret, and there was nothing to be picked up there. But yeah, that could have been the possible crazy first blood where you show red and suddenly you're topside. So kind of going to have an earlier clear for sure here. Of course, Acadian's also on the single target side of the map with kind of unlucky there. It gets the Talisman and he's taking blue and Gromp and red, all of which you'd kind of rather have Hunter's Machete for.
Absolutely, you would. Thinking about how this bottom lane is going to play out. I'm curious to see how much attention Acadian will eventually pay to it. They picked an incredibly safe bottom lane, but they're also up against a Kai'Sa, who you don't normally want to give easy laning phase to, especially.
Oh, that's so much
Kai'Sa
damage.
Braum.
Smoothie's one attack from dead, and he was already down. If FBI wanted, he could flash an int for the kill, but doesn't go for it there. Instead, just let Smoothie walk back into the back lines. They're regenerating off with potions.
Yeah, so it definitely looks like Acadian's going to spend most of his time topside. We saw him do a lot more in the spring than we have necessarily seen him do in the summer. But if he can't get an advantage there, it looks like Golden Guardian's going to try and push something hard bottom lane. That would be a very early dive.
There's a lot of damage towards Haunter. The stun is available. They pull that one in. A lot of damage coming across. 2 more autos, but the turret's going to do too much damage. Now it's on the bottom side. No heal available. They find the first stun. The rest of the damage, the Chain Lash comes out. They find the kills. And aggro's dropped perfectly. Golden Guardian's first blood under 4 minutes.
Yeah, teams playing to completely different sides of the map. Haunter actually able to get a lot of health out, does burn his flash, but the successful dive and kill for Contracts' Silas, also taking into account how Acadian didn't have an efficient XP clear. If Contracts hit 6 before Sejuani, that's just a go button for jungle invades to try to take complete control, because you can steal someone's ultimate before they're 6, use it on him, and try and get a solo kill on Sejuani. See how clean this dive was right here. Watch how they kind of balance the turret aggro, because whenever you see the guy who gets first blood not have to immediately flash out, it means they've done something right. So Huhi grabs turret aggro, landed the Q so he's able to get the stun, knows how many hits he can take, and then, since the kill has already happened, no one retakes aggro. So it's literally just 3 hits on Huhi. That's about as clean of a 3v2 dive as you'll ever see.
Tankiest champion on the team at that point in time, and it's no problem. Just to be safe, he burned Summoner Heal just in case he needed it. Didn't, but it was just to, make sure nothing went wrong, and it was pretty beautiful right there. So Golden Guardians off to a great lead, and everything I've seen from this duo has been, can they play aggressive and can it work out, or do they get punished? They kind of have one direction they go, and it's forward. Sometimes their counter gank gets horrible, sometimes they don't, and they pop off, and this seems to be the latter.
Hey, they do stuff, right? They go for plays, and in the past, that had been an issue for teams that have Froggen on it, right? They'd say Froggen does nothing but sit in his lane. I actually would say as well, part of Golden Guardian's resurgence is Froggen is playing much more aggressively. He's had a fairly dominant lane phase, about the 2nd best laning phase mid laner in the LCS, and he's forward a lot, right? So many times you used to see Froggen with a low forward percentage. This year, it's up at 27.7%, which without context means nothing, but it's around like 3rd highest in the league as far as being pushed up.
Golden Guardians, a more aggressive team, pushing forward a little bit more. Froggen trying to bait some cards out. Nope, no play to be had. Just going to keep auto-attacking the minion waves back and forth. Equal CS across these players. Contracts, I believe, dodges vision with the path he just took right there. No pings from Beers at the very least. And as the minion waves are cleared back and forth, mana pool is a little bit low. But Contract is safe to grab this Scuttle and can also grab Honeyfruit if he needs it. And he just puts the hurt down on some jungle monsters. Pings towards the control ward. There's the vision, there's the resources, and bot lane's still looking pretty solid for the Golden Guardians side. Aggro's the dragon, realizes, yep, there is a ward in there, but they can try to do it anyway. Pulls out of the pit, even though they know what's happening. So with the bot lane push, this feels pretty safe. And Bjergsen had just recalled, so mid lane priority and bot lane priority, this is a formality.
Yeah, and specifically with Silas Twisted Fate, Bjergsen was, I would say, forced into cleanse, which will give Froggen a lane pressure advantage. They both recalled. Froggen teleported back, gave him mid priority, and knew Bjergsen wasn't going to be there. So, yeah, as you mentioned, completely safe to take that Infernal Drake, very powerful Drake, on top of the control.
Beautiful stuff, and very early on, too, of course. Drake's only spawned 5 minutes in. They grabbed it within 2 minutes of it coming up. And look at that, double Infernal going to be the early sort of set of resources there. So Golden Guardians happy they're already winning the bottom lane. They high-rolled Drakes at this point. Every single champion on their team, aside from the Braum, is really going to care about the bonus DAC damage and the bonus AP, so that's going to be nice. You kind of lucked into a lot of synergies here.
Yeah, if only they could have picked Leona, then they'd have the Guardians.
Ah, if only, yeah.
That what you're going for, Freak? Is that what you wanted?
I wasn't even going for TFT. Other than
high roll, you use synergies.
Well, my vernacular is now very TFT heavy, but I really meant it in the League of Legends sense.
All right. I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
There's very few TFT champions in this game, actually, compared to a normal like, glacial comp or something.
Yeah, 1/3 of champions, roughly. Either way, Ezreal coming soon, from what I hear.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I don't know if it's actually true, but that was on Reddit.
Way to leak everything, Freak.
Okay, great.
I don't know.
Yeah, pretty sure it's from someone's Twitter. Regardless, Haunter and Broken Blade. We talked about this being the least ganked lane of all time, and meanwhile, it's just a fight in the top side. No jungle to be seen, just the battle of resources. Haunter forced to burn his ult for the extra healing, put some damage towards Broken Blade, but his Q's on cool, then takes a turret shot. Didn't want that one, and it times out.
Yeah, previous versions of Haunter would try and shove this lane in to get the reset by himself. This time, Contracts is actually there to allow him to do so. So Haunter actually couldn't have crashed that wave unless Contracts came up here, so that's kind of a team play there. And now Contracts is 6, as we mentioned, being able to steal Sejuani ult. Feels safe running into the jungle to try and get stuff done.
Contracts chooses to not hit the Scryer's Bloom to give away his positioning. I think he was hoping that there was a chance he could sneak in a top side and maybe find a dive on a Broken Blade.
Yeah.
Half HP, you know, definitely killable, but Camille gets the recall off. Executioner's calling Rush, definitely really good against Aatrox. Very healing-focused champion, running Conqueror, which can add even more in the late game. And TSM, look at this Smoothie, building the freeze, but Golden Guardian's unable to push it in. They can't threaten Smoothie enough to make him stop this, so it's going to be the slow recall. Golden Guardians do have double teleports. They can get back if they have to, but it will mean a little bit of CS is lost, and Smoothie going to stop one of those. Nicely played right there by Smoothie.
Absolutely. We see it both ways as well, kind of looking across the items being built up. The ADTF is going to be the choice here, Trinity Force into AD items, even though the AP build honestly performs quite adequately as well, but I imagine because of Silas jungle and a Kai'Sa AD carry, they think there's going to be enough magic damage that the ADTF with maybe a bit more split pushing prowess in extended fights will be their choice.
Add some durability just in case you really need it, since you get Triforce with health on that item as well. And okay, over the wall, Broken Blade gonna find the stun and Contracts. Yes, burns the Camille as well, but Haunter nowhere to be seen, so it's a 1v1 for a while. Level deficit for Contract, but does so much damage that Broken Blade's pushed out at 600 health.
A couple interesting choices there in that fight. Contracts, smart, I think, to steal the ultimate and go all in. But then Haunter had a choice to either burn flash and go over the wall and threaten a kill on Broken Blade, which would have effectively traded flashes with him. They both choose to save their flash, and I think it's because Haunter's actually expecting a lot of jungle attention, knowing he is eventually up against Camille, and the only way I think Camille will get ahead is if they can actually convert a kill.
We'll see the kills convert as the junglers are both kind of near the top side, and Award Spot's Contract is he wants to push Acadian away. Right now, a 2-camp lead for the Silas jungle. Has a completed jungle enchant as well, which is quite nice. That's part of why that fight went so well on the top side, so temporarily items up, but boots down can be relevant also if things happen to go weirdly. Not going to pull Broken Blade back in, but Haunter's just going to do his very best to push that Camille around. Basically equal farm, but now it's going to be the attempt towards Rift Guard. Now, this is not the super safest, as Azir is actually pushing in and Sejuani's nearby.
Yeah, TF could join with ultimate, but Froggen would get rid of his minion wave, and I think TSM's here for the collapse. Bjergsen actually stuck in the lane, though.
Sven has TP, and there's no match right now for Golden Guardians. Now the stun into the pit. A lot of damage with Contracts. They knock him down 1-0. Now the fight continues towards Acadian, but Herald is actually helping. Gonna jump away, burning the flash to stay alive, and there's TF ultimate for some vision. No TPs on the bottom side as they're kind of fighting right now, 2-on-2. Actually, Smoothie is just gonna die almost, getting so incredibly low. Now the ult comes across, Flash just barely gets out of it, as they're gonna look for a little bit more as Froggen actually comes down to the bottom side, and this could be 2 kills. I don't think there's a way out. They're gonna find the first one. Aggro once again onto the Braum, who he will lose his life. No, the stopwatch. Froggen, it's so close and just barely. The stopwatch is in the nick of time, do what they're supposed to do, and they keep the squad alive.
They must have been practicing this turret aggro because they're playing it very well. Maybe didn't need to use that stopwatch at the end for Froggen, but he had it from his runes anyway, so he can just get rid of that, get the first plate as well, and keep the lead even after giving up first blood and the Rift Herald in what was a bit of an unfortunate engagement top lane. We'll start here, and if you're doing the Rift Herald, you need to make sure your mid laner has river access, but they don't actually see Acadian coming up, and Froggen isn't willing to walk in because the rest of Golden Guardians are in the back of the pit. Basically, if Golden Guardians wanted a chance in this fight, they needed to be further up so they could join Froggen. Because Froggen got zoned off on the back, he had to give up. But I think it was a really smart pivot. TF Ultimate can go really far. So you thought he was at the Rift Herald, which is why TSM was safe to take a fight in bottom lane. He actually ends up last coning bottom lane. Smoothie uses his Devour early. Froggen flashes in. Huhi would die from this hit. Perfect stopwatch. Froggen was like, this turret's pretty heated right now. I don't want to accidentally die because the turret actually does ramp up in damage over time. Probably didn't need the stopwatch as we said, but for the safety, uses it.
Yeah, he pulled aggro himself to try to get it off of Huhi, and I don't remember how long it takes a turret to cool down. I don't know if the stopwatch itself is enough to reset the damage per hit, but if it is, then he would have been fine just by his lonesome. Regardless, no kills, only some consumables used, and I would say pretty well used down here. Bot lane still the point of power here for Golden Guardians. Overall, 1,500 gold lead to them is impressive.
Yeah, and even though this game isn't high in kills, it's feeling very high in pace, with Infernal Drake already being up and going down. And it's a very important moment in the game for Golden Guardians in particular. They've been very good. Best in the league at gold at 10, by the way. But then they go to 7th in the league by 15, because this 10 to 15-minute stretch has actually been very bad for Golden Guardians. So they have to hold on here, and we're going to see a lot more action.
And of course, part of that happens right there as Herald comes in at 13 minutes, knocks down 3 plates. Bjergsen gets credit for, I believe, all of them there, and that's 480 gold to the mid laner given over, and that's going to be a lot of change. Basically makes up for the kill and assist that Froggen just got from that bot lane dive.
Yeah, and taking stock of ultimates, all of them are up, aside from Froggen's, which will be up in about 15 seconds. Teleports are also up from the top laners. This second Infernal is big.
That's a lot of damage. Zero doesn't come in time, though, from Contract, so Froggen ults and gets away. Contracts could have pulled the trigger, could have ulted him over the wall. That would have been a kill. They didn't realize he wasn't going to have the damage, but now Infernal Drake has started and Froggen's low.
Yeah, it is a TP-less Azir. I understand how you got them mixed up. They both play farm heavy champions and they're dangerous, so it's fine. But Infernal Drake going down right now. Sven wants to contest it. Cadian would love to steal.
Oh, it's going to be a good enough smite, though. Nice attempt by Sven. He's the one who feels safe enough to do so. Cadian, no blast cone, no flash, means the one-way trip only by queuing over the wall. As second Infernal comes to the Golden Guardians, and you can see, again, 2,000 gold up nearly with double Infernal. They are certainly winning in this game right now, an impressive record. GGS were on their way out of playoffs with the hardest remaining schedule. Almost only tough teams ahead, and pulling up an early to mid-game lead over TSM means maybe they really have it in the tank.
Yeah, they not only have to play TSM today, they have to play TL tomorrow. So they would not want to go into the final 2 weeks at 6 and 8, which makes this game all the more important. And if we only look at last week, oftentimes we'll check in at 15 minutes and say, okay, 1,500 gold lead. That's usually like a win or a loss for a team. But they had some of the most variant games of all teams. TSM had that 7,500 gold lead against Cloud9 last week and lost. Golden Guardians, by the way, had a massive deficit against CLG and then was able to come back and win. So it does feel like, as far as trending last week, Golden Guardians came back from a huge deficit. TSM lost a huge deficit. This is the reverse. So Golden Guardians got to be feeling pretty good.
You can see across the board where the gold leads lie. I do want to point out that TF is at about 530 gold or more from his passive right now. So earned money, not from cheating, as TF literally is canonically cheats in gold income. Still fairly close down here. The, again, plates and extra CS that Bjergsen has gotten generally has been better than what Froggen has gotten from his kills, but the passive makes up the rest of that difference there. We still set at this 2,000 difference. As wave clears continue, Triforce is done, but so is the Nashor's Tooth, which feels pretty comfortable. Now to the bottom side, wow. Isolated Q, big damage towards Sven, and this one is going to be Manamune Kaisa, by the way, so very, very high attack damage in this build.
Yeah, Manamune, once that turns on, Kaisa really gets a lot of damage. And again, Golden Guardians looking to do something bottom lane. The TSM is here to answer, but they're going in.
Big hit right there. Giant stun on the front line. Look at a lot of damage towards his Braum. Puts the shield on early. Smoothie just barely flashing away. Stopwatch by a few more seconds. And now the FBI going forward. They get the kill on a Smoothie as Contracts finds that late side dive. And it's a 1-for-0. Golden Guardians able to walk away.
Hey, they are pulling off some successful aggression here with both Infernal Drakes winning this fight, hoping to be able to get this turret down. It's going to be a little difficult. Sven has a lot of mana. Bjergsen also has blue buff, so unlikely to get it here. But smartly, Froggen already up.
Contract stolen, stun to Acadia, but watch out. Yeah, this is going to be death for him. Does TF go for the big play? They're going to find out Acadian. The gold card's not going to land anyone else just yet, but now they got to walk back away. It's a 1-for-1 long term, I guess, for that play. And then out they go again.
I was just saying, smartly, Golden Guardians moves mid lane so Froggen can get a large amount of turret damage because of their tempo lead, but Contract saw the play. We're going to rewind to the actual 4v4, which turned into a 5v5. GGS has good vision control. They stun Acadian, but that is all the ruse to try and get onto Smoothie, who we think is going to be able to get away, but they're able to snipe him down just at the last second. Nice Q by Contracts. And then everyone teleports in, that kind of resets things. Broken Blade was unable to land his EQ, which maybe would have actually just been like confirmation biased, and then he would have suicided with his ultimate, so probably smart to flash out, and Golden Guardians keep their lead.
Keep their lead. Next Drake up, Mountain Drake, 90 seconds away. Only really good for winners in a game. It's pretty hard to hit turrets when you're behind, so it's one that Golden Guardians wants, and TSM needs to get back into the game for it to be useful for them. Not as important if it's stolen away, kind of through that lens. You wait for what's next here. Triforce nearing completion for Broken Blade. First power spike that he's going to want is available when he can get back to base. As he walks back through and still looks for his opening to get into this one. 1 kill so far in the game from stopping a Rift Herald attempt.
Yeah, credit I think should be given to Hanser for this early laning phase. He received a lot of pressure early on, specifically that first gank he had to absorb at level 4 that burned his flash. When Golden Guardians used that to get the kill bottom. Now, he's getting ganked again.
Broken Blade dancing around almost every single knock of the Blast Plant used. Now a flash over the wall. Big heal for Hanser, but now getting found out. Stun after stun. They might just have the damage. He's running, and they get the kill. Broken Blade secures it 2-0 on the top side. Now Contract steals away a camp, running away, but he's going to get slowed down. Has an ult for Tom Kench, but doesn't going to do anything in combat, and just gets shut right down. 2 quick kills for TSM.
That is the caster curse, so I apologize for Golden Guardians fans about giving Hanser some props right there, and now TSM uses the pressure generated from both top and bot fights to take the mid-turn.
Look at that, the game turning around pretty quickly. 2,500, shrinking the lead, but about 1,000 gold picked up across the map. More than that, actually, from the 2 kills and the turret picked up. So tightening it slightly right now, and with respawns still happening for GGS, this Mountain Drake is just a freebie now. TSM earning it from the kills they got.
Yeah, so we're still in for quite a game 3. Knowing how Golden Guardians has basically sat at this 2,000 gold lead for the past 10 minutes, TSM has the scaling of Azir. Honestly feels a little eerily similar to the last time these teams played this split, where Golden Guardians was ahead, but you looked at Bjergsen and he had high farm and a lot of kills, and you're thinking, how is Golden Guardians really going to get on the Azir to kill him? He does have cleanse. Right, so Bjergsen is in a position to potentially carry this game. Broken Blade could still, now with 2 kills, maybe start winning 1v1s against the Aatrox, but a lot of it could still be on Golden Guardians to find the right fights with Twisted Fate, Silas, Braum, all these options. It's going to be a good one.
It is going to be a good one. 2 items done for Twisted Fate, 2 items done for the Kai'Sa. Same for Sven's Ezreal here, same for Bjergsen, also getting into double flat pen, of course, pretty normal, but going all the way to Merlinomicon again. Anti-healing, pretty useful here. Silas and Aatrox, both self-healers, pretty relevant over there, as Contract's not going to have the chance really to go for this Baron right now, although 2-item Kai'Sa could maybe do it with Rage Blade. They don't quite feel safe enough, and out they go.
Yeah, I think an underrated Farsight totem there by Sven basically knows exactly the moment where the team could be doing Baron. Golden Guardians was definitely trying to sneak it. They didn't even get close, right?
Nope.
Sven saw it right away, and then Golden Guardians had to back up.
Now fighting the bottom side, Broken Blade is barely getting out of that cage and still feels safe. Checking in at that match specifically. Gold lead very close. Praga now getting caught out, flashing, but still taking the True Shot barrage. Not quite a range for the last hit there, but that is the mid laner forced out.
Super close on those kills. Only sitting at about 4.5 combined kills per minute so far in this game. It was an interesting thing that I saw where Golden Guardians actually averages 0.74 combined kills per minute in their games, which is the most in the LCS. So in terms of how many kills are in their games, Golden Guardians plays the fastest pace. I think part of that would have to do with Contracts being so relentlessly aggressive, can be with the new acquisition of Huhi and FBI, who consistently go in, because not typically what you would have seen in past years of Froggen's team. Kind of just goes to show the evolution of that player, and this team has gone through.
Absolutely the case, and still holding a lead against TSM means they are still doing quite well as a squad. 2019 has definitely been a Golden Guardians year, definitely an upgrade over the previous, and still looking pretty solid into this one. Still take them in the Drake lead, still take them in the gold lead, 3,000 up consistently here. And there's going to be bot turret going down, though. Broken Blade really coming into his own now in the mid game with Triforce done. I don't think it's even close anymore. Hanser gets some farm, but he does not have lane pressure anymore.
Yeah, and Contracts doesn't seem interested in going and trying to create Camille kills, because The team comps do cancel each other out slightly when you have Smoothie, who can assist in side lanes if you try and fight. And Golden Guardians have Froggen, who can assist in side lanes if you try and fight. So normally, either having Tom Kench or TF would give you the 1-3-1 advantage. That is a little bit canceled out here because both of them are sitting mid, and both teams can collapse.
They find the stun, though. A lot of damage from the Acadian. Passive on from the pop now, and an Aftershock. He's still so tanky. Bromwell comes across, and he forces a flash away. Now, where's the big play coming across? All 5 Golden Guardians are here. And they're going to walk away, not able to take that fight at all.
So much health to burn through when Acadian can proc Aftershock, which I believe he did with his ultimate at the start of that engagement. Golden Guardians threw absolutely everything at him. He's still able to get away without even having to burn flash.
Very, very tanky man as he puts some armor and some health into the pool and has a stopwatch waiting in case he needs that as well. Picking Sejuani going to be difficult if the resources are around, if the teammates are nearby. Control wards now for both players, both teams that stay in this pit. Golden Guardians knocks down some vision. Contract steals their goals from FBI pockets, and we're going to be okay.
Sven going towards Ludens on Ezreal there, so his Qs will be hitting a lot harder than any type of sustained auto attack damage. I think that's the right choice against the Kai'Sa, who, if Kai'Sa ever does close on you anyway, you're going to lose the duel. So Sven trying to keep Kai'Sa at arm's reach, and still absolutely anyone's game.
Yeah.
23 minutes and 40 seconds in.
I feel like TSM is getting better results in the side lanes. We saw the bot lane pushed in by Broken Blade versus Hans a little while ago. That turret fell. An unanswered top lane push for Bjergsen knocks that one down. And despite the Drake deficit and the gold deficit, TSM are getting the turret lead now in this game, edging the gold closer, only 1,500 apart. Now they've halved the deficit they had not more than a minute and a half ago. So very good play out of the TSM side.
Yep.
Their mid game's going great.
At the end of the day, the gold you see top lane is just a number. It's influenced by certain things like Kleptomancy or TF. What's important is who's actually stronger in the game, and that's shown by what they can actually get done. And it looks like TSM has been feeling slightly stronger in the last 3 or 4 minutes or so based on what they have accomplished.
And a nice Scryer's Bloom spots out what Golden Guns was trying to do is they would hope to sneak into the bottom river. Broken Blade's down there as well. Whoa! That is a big chunk towards FBI. He's going to have to run away from this one, going towards some ability power in the build. You can see with that Stinger that's going to be a Nashor's Tooth later on, but ulti! Ooh, okay, he's going to be fine. Saw it coming.
Well, double Mountain Drake TSM.
Yep.
All thanks to Sven Ezreal. And that's going to be a really important thing to track throughout this game. As Golden Guardians actually tries to go for Baron, it's seen. I believe Froggen walked over that Scuttle Crab vision. So here comes TSM to try and stop it.
Ooh, he's got to build space. He's got to knock away who could possibly steal. Smoothie has Spellbook available. Acadian's around. Oh, it's not going to land on him. And it's going to be the attempt. Not going to find the smite, though. They pick up the kill as well. 1 for 1, though. As a 4v4 fight, he's Broken Blade over the wall. Who's he going to find? Hauntzer would revive if attacked, so instead it's towards Froggen. They get the damage. There's the kill picked up on Hauntzer. That was massive. Goes in for Sven, simply revives. Contracts gets the cleanup. Zen is trying for everything he possibly can, but Hauntzer is here. Finds some damage. Sven might find more. He's got a red buff, and it's a trade kill as Contracts over the wall. The surviving members still Baron buff on of GGS.
Whew, what a risky call by Golden Guardians, but it absolutely paid off in this situation. We'd been talking about how the game had been trending in TSM's favor. TSM had just gotten the Mountain Drake, so Golden Guardians says, we're going to Baron. They do not get it stolen as both junglers just threw their smites out. Froggen ends up getting it. And then the fight afterwards, TSM is like, well, we have been feeling stronger. Do we go? Do we not? It's 1 point. They don't have to do this, but they think they can get it with the Camille. But watch Monster. The healing is actually the thing that I want to point out right there, with his ultimate available when he lands the Q3 on 2 people. He healed about 1/3 of his health, and then this Q dodge right at the end buys enough time for Sven to all in and gets the ace for Contracts.
And that is excitement at a Froggen. Golden Guardians fans going to be happy about this one. Sven gets the 1 for the end of the day, but it is a team fight loss. 2 extra kills to GGS. Baron buff onto Baron money on them as well. As payment for a Mountain Drake, I take that trade every time, no matter what. So GGS making a very important clutch play at the 25th minute of this game.
And with the Nashor's completed on FBI, he's at an incredibly strong point, and that's what I was alluding to that we needed to track throughout the game before they ran to Baron is whether or not FBI can get his damage out. Because the lane went so well for a Kai'Sa Braum. Don't pick Kai'Sa Braum and expect to win lanes the way that FBI did. Now it's about whether or not he can make that work in teamfights against the range and the assassination threat that TSM has through Camille and Sejuani.
Right now, TSM having to play the back foot. It's going to be a lot of push here for Golden Guardians. They've got that 3-item spike that's so powerful for Kai'Sa. They've got a TF Triforce, BF Sword, a Twisted Fate to help pushing continue as well as 2 turrets knocked down in the mid lane. You can see TF already in the top side and the team rotating over. Enough vision for Golden Guardians. They knew that they were not getting punished. That ward right there that was just killed by Smoothie, that tracks everything they needed to know that Froggen was safe to push in. But they, without their Epfar cannon charge, don't quite get that auto attack, and Bjergsen keeps that turret alive.
Always hard to push against a late game Azir. And Bjergsen is approaching that point, especially when he completes his death cap. He's gone full spell pen, actually, at this point. Not sure if that's actually the right choice with almost no MR stackers on the side of Golden Guardians. But still, anytime you got Azir with 3 items, as long as they have some AP on him, he's hitting pretty hard.
40% magic penetration, and it goes, of course, first before flat. So, you know, the highest MR on the opposing team is 85 on the Braum. You're still going to put about, 30 to 40 magic resist off, which is still more than the Sork Shoes does by itself. So, not terrible. Now, Han's going to find himself in a fight as well. Here comes TF over the top. There's going to be a lot of damage with Broken Blade, who just jumps away, stays alive, but now there could be a re-engage. Froggen could have pressed E flash and gone for the play, doesn't do it though. It would have been an overextension, probably.
That's exactly what we talked about with the canceling wolves, right? You see a 1v1 bot lane, or what you thought was a 1v1. Here comes Tahm Kench, here comes TF. Guys say, all right, just kidding. We don't want to go for this one in either direction, and TSM does get the ultimate out of Aatrox, but it costs Broken Blade his flash and all.
So away they walk, but now you're going to see FBI running back towards the mid lane. Baron buff is gone. 3rd Infernal spawning in 1 minute, and Golden Guardians have enough gold that they probably feel pretty comfortable at this one. They should be able to retain control. At this point, you don't really reset anymore. This is the last chance you get to buy.
Ooh, man. That's a tough call for TSM if they want to try and contest this 3rd Infernal, because it's right at the point in the game where they think, okay, we've held on for most of the Baron buff. It's gone. We're only a little bit down, but do we really give over this 3rd Infernal? Because they don't have vision control. I think they're trying to get vision, and it's high risk. They could get caught.
Q misses, damage to the Acadian, red buff goes over to FBI. That's a nice pickup there. This Infernal's worth 10% attack damage or AP to TSM, only 7 to Golden Guardians, as the Drakes are all front-loaded. Mountain Drake does not affect Smite, doesn't affect true damage, but it will affect if there is like an Ezreal steal. You never know, that kind of stuff can happen.
True.
We've seen crazier ones, like rank 1 Janakus taking Barons. Throwback 2013, you might have been in that game.
Yeah, GG Bloodwater.
Exactly.
And if he's watching today, he actually plays in Collegiate nowadays.
Yeah, UCI, top-end team.
But really, such a big moment in this game right now. 3rd Infernal with the 5,000 gold would be big, and it looks like TSM's at least thinking about contesting, but it's so risky to try and go for a fight.
It's going to be Ezreal looking for some vision. Acadian loses the extra armor buffs now, so he's a bit squishier again. Sun's going to be found in Sejuani. Second one comes through from the Sylas steal. With enough CC, it is picked up. Ezreal not able to steal it with, I think that was a W going in, so they're going to be fine with that one. There is the 3rd Infernal Drake picked up. 24% bonus attack damage and ability power. That's going to feel pretty positive.
And TSM never really willing to commit there. I think they were hoping they would kind of win the fight before the Drake was down. Got to give props to GGS right there for not allowing TSM to steal, but also not over-focusing on the Drake and allowing TSM to get a fight. Too often you will see either of those things go wrong, and Golden Guardians holds firm on both counts.
Now we have a 350 attack damage Aatrox in the top lane for Hanser, thanks to the items he's picked up. In fact, those numbers, 345. He's going to feel really good off this stack, and the very, very painful top laner as Sven clears away wards. He's actually sitting on, clearing away minis. He's on wards. He's got Smoothie nearby. With Arcane Shift, he should be fine, but Contracts are just right around the corner. Yeah,
there are 2 solo laners off in the sides with teleport that can join an extended fight, so don't be too surprised if someone goes in for a fight, but mostly they're just trying to get lane priority for this upcoming Baron.
Broken Blade is in the bottom lane, but has teleport available, and TSM have decent enough wards that he can TP into a fight in okay position, but he's still pushing in the bottom lane. He's still going for the turret, so this is actually now kind of gun to Golden Guardian's head. You got to make a choice right now, because your turret's going to die.
Well, they don't have to make a super hard choice other than, hey, Hanser, go stop that dude, because at least TSM isn't starting the Baron. If TSM really wanted to force a decision, they would be starting the Baron right there and making GGS commit to a fight. But TSM not willing to do that because with already their mid lane priority being lost, if they lose a fight, the game is over. Twisted Fate can make it down there very quickly.
Steals Sejuani once again, contract, and now again the Baron is the attempt. Hanser taking plenty of damage there, gonna wait for the next round as, yeah, simply not enough can be done here. Golden Guardians have a decent poke, FBI and Froggen okay at that.
And the Sejuani nerfs Freak. He delayed his Warmogs because his max health wouldn't be high enough, and now when he takes chip damage at Baron, he can't consistently go back in. He actually does need some gold to be able to go get that Warmogs. Otherwise, this Baron play doesn't work very well. He's still at half health as GGS has now gained control of the Baron area.
About 500 gold short of the rest of the items he needs to complete Warmogs. Went Stone Plate second, and there's the bottom turret falling. So TSM still splitting the map well. True Shot Barrage guarantees, okay, yes.
Well, they're going to do it.
Are on it, but at least they're damaged as the wards will be knocked down, but not quite.
They're willing to go for it.
They're burning as fast as they can. Here comes the play. Stun comes across. They're going to try to burn it down. Braum at the top, and it will be pinned up. Smoothie picks up the smite, and Acadian will drop. Is there any more, though, as the TPs come across? It's just the one kill. The smite. Smoothie makes the game-saving play, and they've still got Broken Blade pushing.
Yeah, Hunter teleported into the fight that was already over, so Broken Blade now has a Baron push if he wanted it, but he's going to play it safe because TSM says, all right, our spellbook support just took it. By the way, both supports had the ability to do the smite spellbook right there. And Broken Blade trying to get away, will do it safely. Game-saving steal by Smoothie.
That probably ends the game of Golden Guardians having to have to fight once again.
So we know Golden Guardians is willing to do 50-50s. There are 4 smites, by the way, right now. So at about 2,000, you just start pressing it. It gets to 60. Smoothie flashes in to smite it for the final one. I don't even want to say like, oh, the junglers didn't smite. There's 4 smites. It's so clearly a 50-50 in that one. Golden Guardians got the first, TSM gets the second. We feel like we're pretty close back to even aside from those 3 Infernals that GGS has.
That's a heartbreaker because I think the call normally for Golden Guardians is like, okay, at 1,500, double smite. Who he hit his, contracts did not. And it was Smoothie who came in and hit the second one, essentially, who he chunked it so that they could have double smited in either communication or misclick or who knows what, but it wasn't quite there. And so it's TSM now at the power play. 2 minutes left in this one. And we'll see what they can grab. They've got to work back a 4,000 gold deficit, but the items are looking pretty okay for the squad. Death cap soon for FBI. He's going full AP Kaisa here. Stacking the magic damage on the roster. And again, it's ADTF and an Aatrox who's fed. I think that's pretty reasonable to kind of balance out the sheet here.
Yeah, and as we have a little bit of a lull as Elder Drake's going to be up in 40 seconds, want to reiterate what an important game this is for GGS. The hardest remaining schedule amongst LCS teams. They play TL tomorrow, so you would not want to lose both of these games. If they could win both of them, they'd be amazingly positioned. Additionally, this is the best game FBI and Huhi have had, I think, by far. It's been their solo lanes that they've been consistent on. They've actually just kind of split with TSM solo lanes this game. It's been FBI who has the 700 gold bounty and CS advantage on Sven. But TSM actually pushing top lane while the Elder is up to try and draw attention away from that area and getting a good push on.
They're gonna get some decent damage right here. Chunk comes through as Sven knocks the top turret by 1/3. The empowered minions doing even more here. Hanser can't find any damage. The Broken Blade just destroys these turrets. TSM Siege going so well, splitting them apart and finding the damage. This could be enough. Finds a little bit there, and here's TF over the top. Broken Blade's gonna ult, and he's not gonna be in the gold card. Nice hold as the kill does come through. But it still means pressure on the top side. They're gonna find one there, and here's the engage. They find the stun. Want to eat it by Tom Kench. Now FBI over the top. They're going for this play right now. Froggen regen to the play, but he's so terribly low. Froggen forces a flash over the wall. Low health on a Bjergsen. One more attack could do him in. If they want to chase into the Azir turret, that's gonna do damage here as well. They gotta be careful. 5v4, but health bar is too low to chase for GGS.
So everyone has 4 players alive. GGS opts not to heal. They're running there. Correction, they have 5 players alive in this one, which does give them the advantage. TSM might end up trading the inhibitor, but that would give 2.5 minutes of Elder to Golden Guardians. An incredibly tight moment right here, Freak.
Okay, so TSM with Baron can also push for maybe turrets possibly as well. Keep in mind it's a full 8-second recall. Will be at least the inhib. Smoothie waiting to save him in case he needs it. And in 5v4, the Elder is always going to happen. They grab that, but 2 turrets and an inhibitor were taken by TSM during the Baron buff.
If I just look big picture at what just happened, you gotta say Golden Guardians wins the last minute and a half. Because TSM had the Baron buff, they had the late game Azir, they had the setup to get lane priority towards Elder Dragon. They instead opt to try and create pressure top lane in a split push, but then Golden Guardians gets a kill and now has this Elder window, which negates really anything that TSM would be able to do with that open inhibitor, I believe, and it would set them up for an eventual second Elder if the game somehow surpasses the already longest game of the split for both teams the last time they played, which went 49 minutes and 40 seconds.
Well, we maybe have a lot more to go here with Triple Infernal plus Elder Dragon. 497 attack damage on Haunter's Aatrox. That's a little bit high.
It's a lot.
He's going to lifesteal his entire health bar if he lands a Q. So watch out, everyone on team. Yeah, 900 damage. Woo. There you go, 1,098.
That's a lot of damage.
This is an ideal situation where he's got 4 items and Triple Infernal Elder Dragon. It's an oddity, it's an aberration, but still painful.
Yeah, and again, we're in a little bit of a holding pattern with an Elder Drake team who doesn't have an inhibitor. Golden Guardians wants to get very aggressive. They just have to make sure that they don't get that bottom inhibitor taken, which, as you mentioned, was taken during that last Baron engagement. They could try a dive, but it would be very risky, because at this point in the game, either team loses the team fight. The death timer's long enough, the bases are destroyed enough, the game's over.
Almost certainly the case right here, but you can see the setup. Now, the kind of punch in the gut for Golden Guardians is Elder Dragon buff will end before the Baron spawns. They can use that to gain vision, they can push down mid, they can knock down all of the wards, they have to react to top lane pushing in, which Aatrox is doing right now. Haunter, though, his teleport timer is 38 seconds, which is technically after Baron spawns. That may matter in some cases. Broken Blade, of course, other side of the map, knocking down minions himself.
Yeah, I said the Golden Guardians wins that Baron Elder exchange thing, but it's a tough call. Like, whenever you have an inhibitor down, another inhibitor open against what is turning into a late game Camille, it's really all in how you play it from this point out. The map is in such a neutral space.
And Golden Guardians trying to play for the bottom side. You can see TF sitting inside the base gate, hoping Broken Blade extends enough that there's an opening, that they can find the kill like they did last time. Broken Blade playing far enough back that it's not going to come through. Instead, it's TSM with the numbers advantage pushing into the river.
Yeah, but Broken Blade also has to be wary of Twisted Fate.
There's the ult.
Here's the 1v1.
Is this going to be the play? A lot of damage coming in. There's popped as well. He's going to jump right back out, stay safe. Out he goes, trades ult for ult. And now the fight is up on the top side. They found Froggen! And that's going to be Guardian Angel down, but they can re-engage this one as GGS puts the ults across. They have the burst though, and TF is dead. Are they really going to go for the Baron? I think it's going to try. Over the wall is Acadian. The fight, and it goes to Acadian! It's 2-0, the same game from 2 different players. But FBI over the wall finds a kill on the support. So it's a 4v4 in the map. As turrets go down, it's the push. He's going for the base right now, as it's just time being bought. And across the wall is just support. It's just Braum. I don't think it stopped them. The fight still continues. It's still damage for Broken Blade. Who cares about the rest of the kill? He's doing all the work. And TSM gonna win the game through top lane.
What an ending for such a back and forth game. Live by the Baron, die by the Baron. And that game, I feel like Golden Guardians pressed their luck one time too many. The previous Baron Forces freak at least had some type of knowledge discrepancy, or TSM was going for something. That was just a straight 4v4 where both top laners were at full health. To me, that was a really, really bad Baron call by GGS down the stretch. They may have been feeling the pressure of the open inhib and the Camille bottom, but Haunter had already repelled that push. Great job by Acadian to get that smite steal at the very end, though. You have to give him credit for that. And also for Broken Blade for being able to play a split push Camille against Twisted Fate, which is very difficult throughout the whole game.
Definitely was. Ends the game 2-2-2. Spent so much of that game in the side lane and was able to withstand all the attempts Froggen put at him. Smiles for TSM, that was a tough one, though. A very, very tough game. They do pull it out. They still remain in the top 4. They're now half game above CLG, sitting there, I guess, technically right now in 3rd place as a result of that one. But, wow, what a brawl.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, all that matters is if you kill the other team's Nexus.
That's exactly what you did.
When you're looking about trying to make it in the playoffs, when you're looking at playoff seeding, that's what matters. I'm sure in the coaching rooms, both of these teams are going to have a lot to say. A lot of the game, I think, was actually very well played in the way that they were trading dives based on jungle pressure, in the way that the Tom Kench and the Twisted Fate were canceling each other out. But as the game ticks on and you get into those situations that you really just haven't been in that much, I think familiarity and consistency in roster does play a part there. Acadian made it to the summer finals with this roster of 5 players, right? TSM had cool heads throughout the end there. I feel like Golden Guardians did not, and that's why TSM won.
I agree. TSM better in the clutch. They were still down in kills and gold, but they got an Nexus, what matters. We're going to send it down to Riv, who's got an interview with the victorious bot laner.
Thank you, gentlemen. Great cast on the day. I am joined by Sven after TSM takes down Golden Guardians from behind as well. At one point, a little stressful with the ganks in the bottom and then some explosive Baron fights. Relive a few moments for me in your own words. Kind of what was the focus for the team to make sure TSM would win?
I mean, I think we fucked up. Sorry, we messed up the early game. And we got behind the ball lane, we got dove, and we were just losing the early game. And they had better skirmishing champions, so they got 2 dragons off of our ball lane losing, which was a slight disaster, I would say. And then I think later in the game, their macro was a little worse than ours. I think TF should stop Camille splitting on side lanes, but they didn't really manage to do that. So Camille just got a lot of towers, and at the end, they had to have a hard choice between their base and the Baron. If you get the Baron, we win, and if you get the base, I mean, we win it. So it felt like their silent macro wasn't the greatest at the end, given that they had TF, who was winning silent. So.
Always a patient game from TSM. It seems like the team is always able to see much past your opponent's strategy and allow that kind of slow game to be a win for you. Looking at kind of the growth for you this split, coming out, looking to do as much as you could after kind of a rough finish, what has been the goals that you've been trying to reach, and have you been able to kind of hit those check marks a bit on the way here to playoffs?
I think after we got rolled over at Revivals, we tried to be more proactive in the last 2 weeks we played, and I think, it failed some games. Against CLG, when we played Yasuo Gragas, it didn't go so well, obviously, but I think even against C9, we try to be really proactive in the early game, try to play much more fast-paced, try to, win through the first 20 minutes of the game, and the fact that we were ahead against C9, we couldn't snowball the game isn't something that I'm sad about, because we just need to get better at closing, but we're trying to be more proactive and early game focused, but this game wasn't much of that, so yeah. I guess once you lose, because you aren't good enough, you go back to what works without being good, right?
Yep.
Because our comp isn't that hard to play, but it works in LCS, so yeah.
Right on. Sven, final question for you. Playoffs are coming up now. Does the focus change, scrim pattern, anything for TSM, or is it kind of the same way until you get to those real tough games?
No, I think that everyone, TSM, players, staff, and management, whatever, has really good work ethic. Everyone tries hard to be the best that they can be, and I think our overall work ethic is super good. So I'm happy that we keep the same pace of work at all times, and playoffs will be no less. So I'm looking forward to it.
Sven, thank you so much. Congratulations on the win. TSM picking up another one to put in the win column. We'll throw to the State Farm analyst desk to break that down.
Thank you, Riv. That was a sketchy one. Came down to a base race in the face of a triple inferno for TSM in order to take the game. Let's relive those final moments before we work our way back through it and figure out how we got to this place.
Look away, Golden Guardian fans, because this was a 50-50. Once again, the second 50-50 of the game, and to make matters worse, your top lane teleports away, whereas Broken Blade gets to teleport into the base and end the game.
Yeah, and this was right after Froggen got picked. They were in a fine spot on Golden Guardian's side, and he was hovering between going to the Baron and going to bot lane. And in transition to the Baron, he gets picked off and killed, and that's really what gave them the freedom on TSM's side to really go for that Baron contest, because if they go for the Baron contest and Froggen's alive, they can lose the fight and lose the game right away. But there, after they had already killed Froggen, they're like, oh yeah, let's go contest the Baron. We're not going to lose this fight. And they could just focus on stalling while they ended the game.
Golden Guardians, the victims of multiple botched 50-50 attempts throughout this game, but I do want to roll it all the way back to Champions Select because I kind of want to set the stage for what we saw in this game. In particular, you'll notice the TF pick for Froggen, as well as the jungle matchup, because we will put a spotlight on both of these junglers. Contracts need to get stuff done early.
So the TF is a really good last pick anytime somebody wants to go with a split pusher. So I love anytime that it happens, because as we saw with the Tahm Kench as well, you have so many globals that it kind of fizzles everything out. And even with TSM, now that they've shown the Azir in the top lane, it also happens to be a flex pick, since Camille can also go into the mid lane. So you have to account for both matchups, and so they figure, why not? TF can do well into both.
Well, it's also really good because your bot lane should beat theirs. Their mid laner, if it is Azir, is not very good at roaming. You have a top lane counter matchup, and you have the more aggressive jungle matchup. So this is such an advantageous early game for Golden Guardians, and they do a great job initially of snowballing through there.
Right, all of that is up to contracts, right? Getting things done early, and perhaps a little bit of Froggen again on that TF, making visits to the side lane. Let's go ahead and take a look at how the early game played out for Golden Guardian.
I looked at this game exclusively through Contracts' eyes, actually, and he had really great pathing. For the early game, this was sick. This was a perfect clear in the top side, do blue buff straight into a gank into the bottom lane, wasting no time whatsoever. And this is the snowball that led them to contest this dragon, because you have mid priority, very easy. The bottom lane was able to shove out. But then when it came to the Herald top, without the priority being established, Golden Guardians dropped the ball starting this Herald. And that to me was the theme throughout this match, where Golden Guardians is very good at taking these objectives that are already sort of preset in winning lanes. But when it came to setting up your own plays, of making sure that you've done the due diligence with vision, then they kind of drop the ball.
And especially playmaking, I think Contracts does really well, but he sometimes gets a little over-aggressive. So here at the start of the fight, excellent job starting off onto Smoothie, gives his team a clear target to focus down, and that puts a lot of pressure on TSM, who end up falling behind in this fight. And then you're afterwards set up in a position to maybe finish pushing down this turret, but instead of just focusing on finishing off the turret or maybe threatening a redive or anything like that, he goes and takes a 1v1 versus Acadian, who is, pretty tanky, all things considered, which then kind of baits the rest of his team, and it does lead to a 1-for-1, but now you're not really getting ahead, and that bot turret stayed up for a while.
You have to commit the TFO, and alternatively, you just get the pick away, you force the Camille to teleport down, you let Aatrox sit in the top lane, he finishes that turret, and you've already secured a top lane advantage, which will manifest itself very nicely when it comes to the split pushing, because Camille now lost so much, she can no longer handle the Aatrox. As we saw in the later stages of the game, Hanser was handling Broken Blade pretty well.
Oh, without a doubt. It does feel at times that the consideration is only for the upside of the play and not always taking into account, the downside if things don't go wrong. In a number of cases, that's exactly what happens. And Golden Guardians pays a dear price for some of those missteps.
Yeah, the decision tree is often, should we do this or not, as opposed to, what if we just did something else altogether, and considering multiple scenarios?
Yeah, I mean, as much as we've been talking about Contracts, it's the other side with Acadian. This is the first 50-50. They've already actually set up a really good battle line to take the fight, but instead Acadian contests the Baron as opposed to trying to win the fight that is sure to come afterwards. And that kind of puts his team in a tough spot here where they have to go for this. It is still an extremely close fight, but there's Hanser with that huge flash third Q to set up the win for the rest of his team. It was very back and forth. Sven still was almost able to kite this one out, but it was just too well played by Hanser there. And eventually you see Contracts coming in for the cleanup, protect.
To a large degree, though, because following this is when we end up with the two Barons that go 50-50 over to TSM. First being smoked by Smoothie, and then the second time around smoked by Acadian to close out the game. That there was just this sense of franticness and pressure that Golden Guardians was feeling, where they had to make this kind of a risky play to win, which is peculiar when you're looking at a team with 3 Infernal Drakes.
And you also have a Twisted Fate. I like hearing what Sven was saying, that he didn't feel like the Twisted Fate was being utilized to the maximum value and taking control over multiple side lanes and then threatening to make a numbers advantage. We saw at the 20-minute mark, Golden Guardians had no problem starting a Baron and testing the waters. When you have a Twisted Fate, you can afford to do that very easily. You push up, they commit to you, you port into the Baron, right away you take these objectives very freely.
And Mark, for the side of TSM, I think they'll, yes, be happy to have walked away with the victory, but as we heard from Sven, the early game went so poorly, taking a lot of the responsibility for that himself in the bot lane, and still very much looking to clean up some of those elements of their play, so they're not having to make ridiculous 50-50 comebacks in all of their games.
I mean, this is the exact opposite of the kind of progress we were hoping to see out of TSM post-Rift Rivals, where they're starting to play more aggressive, they're doing interesting things, and then they fall back into this passive scaling bot side of the map. Yeah, they've regressed. Like, this is not the play style or champions we want to see them really playing, and though it did work out, like you said, it was off the back of a lot of 50-50 Barons, and Golden Guardians almost crushed them in the early game.
All right, squeaked through on this one, TSM did, but on the other side of the break, FlyQuest and CLG duke it out. Game 3 is coming up after the break.